All right, everyone, who's ready to get fired up for the energy that you're about to get from our guests?
Hey,
The Fonz!
the Fonz!
All right, definitely Fonzie joined us along with his brother. Oh, did you not know he had a brother? But either way, what do you say, Ron?
Can't wait. Say it again.
Let's get to it. Have you ever wondered how highly successful entrepreneurs think?
So did we. So we asked hundreds of entrepreneurs a very simple question. If they had perfect hindsight, what advice would they give themselves?
I am Corey Carter.
And I'm Ron Cool.
Join us on our journey implementing and sharing all of our learnings while we hack our hindsight along with our guest hindsight to give us all better foresight.
Listen along the way as we find and unlock their secrets that made them successful through hidden traffic, joint ventures, and much, much more. This is Hindsight Hack.
Welcome back to Hindsight Hacking. Today we have two amazing entrepreneurs that are joining us. Two brothers of the same name, Luis Camejo and Luis Camejo, have joined us, or you can just say the Fonzie. And definitely these guys, they explore frameworks, strategies, tactics, and they bring special guests to their own store or their own podcast called Content is Profit. Now, they have helped companies like Orange Theory Fitness, Red Bull, JWB Property Management, Think Different Theory, University of North Florida, and so many more. These guys have so much going on. I am so excited to have you both here. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. That was awesome.
Yeah, thank you, Corey. Appreciate it, man. Thank you for having us. And Ron, too.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. And I'm surprised you dropped the Fonzie that early, man.
Yeah.
No, it was funny because when you guys come across in our calendar has both your names, and I was like, what's his name? I know it's Fonzie, but what's his real name? I didn't know, right? So for the people that don't know a little bit about you, if you could explain a little bit of a backstory and kind of catch everybody up to where you are.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
I mean, I want to take that one. I'll take that one.
Go ahead. It's your turn.
So we actually.
It's okay.
Yeah, you can tell we're brothers because we're always fighting. So we say our mom was a secret marketer, right? And she's like, you know what? That's gonna cause some controversy. Some people are gonna talk about it, so I'm gonna name them both Luis. But that's actually not the fact, right? So my dad, his name is Mario, and his first son name is Mario, and his dad or grandpa, his name is Mario. So when my dad, in his second marriage with my mom was like, you know what? There's not going to be more Marios in this family. So I'm going to name them both Luis, right? So I was like, okay, cool.
Funny story. We were actually, Funny Hacking Live earlier this year, and we both have our lanyards, right, with our names. And in every registration form, we put our second name. We have a middle name, mine's Daniel, his is Alfonso. That's why he's Fonzie, right? So we put the full name, but people tend to take that one out. So we come out in registration. They're like, okay, Luis, here you go. And then the second one is printing, and the guy's like, wait, Luis too?
Yeah.
We're like, I swear, we paid twice. We did pay 2 tickets.
Yeah.
So it happens to every single event.
Yeah, we have been at events where, they are like, oh, they came up twice in the system and they erased one of us. And then we both get there and we're like pulling IDs out like, hey, I swear we got the same name, So I'm not going to lie. First of all, I used to hate that nickname. I hated it with my life. It came out back in Venezuela. A friend of my brother, she actually started calling me Fonzie because of the singer. There's that Hispanic singer, the one that sings Despacito. Mm-hmm. So I was like, no, I don't like him. I don't like this name. What you call? And my brother picked up on that. Obviously, he's like, oh, that bothers him. And
you don't like it?
So
That's your name. I'm going to put it
he started using it. He attempted to make people back home call me Fonzie. Nobody did, fortunately. But when we got here, we were working at the same OTF. Well, he was working out at OTF, and I was doing some contracting job for them. And everybody's like, wow, you guys are brothers. You have the same name. And my brother immediately, he's like, but you can call him Fonzie. And me on the inside, I was like, no.
Like, I hate you.
Yeah, so the people inside of that workspace, they started calling me Fonzie, and I was like, oh man, I don't like this. And one day, this coach, she's like, dude, Fonzie, what a cool nickname. And I was like, no, it's not cool. And she's like, you don't know who the Fonz is? And I was like, I know who Luis Fonz is. Yeah. I was like, I know who Luis Fonz is, the singer, right? And she's like, no, from Happy Days. I was like, well, I've never seen Happy Days. I don't know what that is. So I went on YouTube, looked him up, and I was like, he's cool. I'll take it. But now I'm like, I embrace the fancy name. Yeah.
As soon as he did that, he did like this T-shirt with the fonts.
Yeah.
And we went immediately to the beach bars here in Jacksonville. And it's like everybody's like, "What the fonts? And your name is Fonzie? What?" So yeah. So now it's Fonzie, and he embraced it. So it's good.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I am the younger one. It might not seem that way because of the beard, but I'm not gonna say how. But it benefited me, having the same name as my brother a while back. Just not gonna throw the how.
Now my credit is all messed up. Anyways, no, dude, but a little backstory. I mean, I don't think that was the backstory that we're looking for. But the backstory about us, we come from Venezuela. We got to the States about 10 years ago. We used to play a lot of soccer. So not anymore. If you see me, I probably will roll down the street because I keep eating like if I am a soccer player. But so, after college and after leaving the athlete life, we're like, okay, what do we do now? Right. I don't see ourselves as the corporate guys. I'm a business administration. He's a sports management major. And we had no idea. We're like, no, we don't really want to do that. Like we heard just horrible stories. And we always were trying to sell stuff because our parents never gave us like money in the family, nothing. That was not a thing. So if you want to buy anything, go earn your money. So we're always trying to figure something out, right? We sold soccer T-shirts. We we burned like music on CDs and then sold them in the school, like all that typical stuff as we were growing up. And then here, when we come to the States, we're like, okay, it's real time now. Like, what do we do? So, we read the book, The One Thing, and we're like, what's the one thing we're good at? And, soccer was not an option at the time because we saw it as a professional career, but because of age and different things didn't happen. So we're like, well, we use social media. So I think we might be good at this. Why don't we actually go sell? So we invested in one of Tai Lopez, the courses, right? Back then, I was like, $500 in a credit card that we were like, okay, put it in there, see what happens. And what it did was it motivated us to go out and sell social media, but we didn't really know what we were doing. So Fonzie here one day comes like with a jacket, a tie. That never happens. It didn't even happen in my wedding, but comes out like, dude, I saw something. So, we sold our first like $500 package about 5 years ago. And since then, it quickly evolved into, we ended up doing also sales funnels for brick and mortars. We consulted different brick and mortars because that's the industry I come from.
We just jump around everywhere.
Jumped around for a long time, different things, different projects. And we had several things going on within an agency type of business. But it was really hard to scale it because every product that we sold was a yes to that client, and it was really hard to scale. So we sat down and we had a really good conversation. We're like, okay, where is the conversation going on? Like, we always go back to content. Always, everybody wants a video. We had the equipment because that was part of the things that we used to sell as well, kind of high-end brand videos. And we came back and we're like, okay, well, the content. How do we do the content? And it was like very dear to us because we started to publish, and we're like, okay, how do we do this? And we wanted to see a content machine, kind of like Gary Vee, the Russell Bransons, those things. We're like, we want that machine. How do we hack it? How do we do it? So, we came up with this process. It's called the M2M. It's part of our content momentum program. And that's what we use to actually repurpose our podcast content. So we work specifically now with people that have video podcasts to create a ton of awesome assets that they can distribute and stay consistent at a very high volume level. So that's what we do now as an agency. We've been doing it for a few months. It has been incredible, especially with COVID happening. We thought we were going to close at one point, and that's a funny story. But because of that, it allows to like grow massively, hire full-time team, like and now it's growth mode. So it's that's a very quick version. Did I get it right?
Yeah.
Fact checker. Okay.
You got it.
He's my fact checker. He's
Pretty
like,
good,
that's pretty good. Okay.
I think you missed a important piece to your story though, because you got to tell the audience about printing T-shirts in a garage in Florida before content on T-shirts. So
that's way before content. Yeah. You want to take that one? Because you love that. You love that phase in your life.
Yeah. So it was right about the time that I was about to graduate from college. And at that point, I was working with a franchise teaching 2 to 6 year olds how to play soccer. So I've been with them for about 2.5 years at that moment. And I already was thinking, hey, if I stay any longer here, I might not want kids of my own ever. So I need to find a way to escape this job and bring in some money. And we had another roommate at that point, he had somewhat of an entrepreneurial bug too. And he comes to us and he sits us down and he's like, hey guys, I have a plan. I found something that we can do. It has great margins, it's relatively easy. And we're like, yeah, let's do it. What is it? And he's like, stickers. I'm like, everybody gets stickers, right? Like there's stickers everywhere. Let's go. Why not? So he gets a machine that prints stickers. And
cuts the vinyl.
Yeah, he vinyl stickers. Yeah, he cuts the vinyl, and we need to learn this. Well, we didn't need to, but we thought we needed to learn design, all this stuff around the business, build a website. Then we didn't know we had to sell it. We're like, oh yeah, customers are gonna come. We got cool stickers. No, you gotta go out there and like sell the stickers. So it started evolving, and we're like, whoa, it's not that easy, right? And I mean, B2C on stickers, and we were actually having this conversation with someone that sells stickers like 2 doors down. It's difficult because you need to sell massive amounts of volume, to make a good profit. So our friend comes and he's like, guys, you know what? There is this conference in Orlando. We need to go there. It's everything about stickers and T-shirts. We're going to learn a lot. And I was like, all right, let's go. Let's do it. So we went to the conference in Orlando. Next thing we know, he bought a screen printing machine, right? Like a huge one. He's like,
foreheads.
Yeah, he's like, now we're doing T-shirts. And we're like,
the oven to like dry the ink. Yeah, the whole thing.
The whole shebang, man. We're like, yes, let's go. And, we were just like, let's escape these 2 to 6 year olds. Like, that's enough, right?
Yeah.
So we bring the machine into the house, we put it in the garage, and we start doing it. And what we found out is that the process was not enjoyable whatsoever. Imagine summer in Florida, right? It's like 90-something degrees, and then it's like 70% humidity, and you are in a small, I don't know, what was that, like 20 by 20 garage with a big machine in the middle with a bunch of inks and an oven that goes at like 300 Fahrenheit. So you're like sweating in there. And then the instructions were that you couldn't let the ink stay there in the screens because it would dry, mess up the screens.
And then
you couldn't print on the T-shirts.
Process again.
And we're like, what is this? This is just madness, right? So that point, we learned that we didn't enjoy that process. And we're like, okay, we need to find something where at least we enjoy the process. So we did that for a while. We had like big orders. Like sometimes I think it was like 300 T-shirts, if I'm not mistaken. And it was a lot of work, a lot of hard work. But again, we didn't enjoy the process. So we ended up, separating from a roommate. He actually saw the equipment. He didn't like it as well. I mean, who likes being in a hot box, attempting to make T-shirts, because I don't think they were that much quality.
I remember one specific night, I was still working in the fitness side. So I go home after a very long day, and we had this big order, the 300 shirt orders, and walk into the garage, like, guys, how are we going? And we just printed the screens. We now have to do it. And I remember very specifically, it was a 3-color design. And then when it's multiple colors, it was a mess because, anyways, the technicalities of the ink. but we were there from like 9 p.m. all the way to 4 a.m. doing these things. And I'm like, we need to hire somebody to do this, right? Like it's horrible. Like I hate it. And we were not marketing. And we're like, do we have the money to hire anybody? No. Okay, well, let's stop doing this. Like, why are we doing this to ourselves? Like, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
So that was a very important lesson.
The big upside of that was that we actually created the shirts that we're wearing right now. Let's go. So yeah, so like when we started the social media marketing agency, we're like, we need t-shirts. Whoa, we got a machine before we sell it. Let's go and create our own t-shirts. We need to be branded 24/7. So we actually created we have 7 different colors of the same t-shirt, so we can wear one every single day of the week, right? Nice. So my now ex-girlfriend, she wasn't very happy about that. She's like, oh, you're always looking the same way, same t-shirt all the time. But yeah, that was the upside of the screen printing story.
Oh my gosh. Like there's so much stuff I want to talk about. So one, I thought I was the only person that had problems like with my name, because like cool. Like even our client didn't realize that was my real last name.
I love
I've been our client for like almost this whole year. It's like, yeah, it's not a made up name.
That is
like ordering stuff. I don't get it, right? It's crazy.
Beautiful.
That's awesome. I'm curious about your signature. It must be super cool. Actually, it's like sign here, Mr. Cool. It's
oh my gosh, I got a story on that. Like, when you're younger, you guys probably did this. You go get autographs, and they look super cool and like crazy. So I spent hours trying to get mine to look like that. And I remember my dad saying, "Don't ever sign your name like that because no one's gonna know what that is." Right? And I was like, "It's not about knowing what it is. It's how cool it looks." Right? So yeah, I enjoy how my signature looks. So it's funny. But I love that you guys recognized you didn't like the process. You had the courage to say, stop. We're going to pivot and go work on something that we like to do. Because I think a lot of people on this entrepreneurial journey, they don't realize they can actually make money on what they like to do. It might take a little bit longer. And you have to have the courage to stick with it, right? And so I love that. But I kind of want to know a little bit more about that decision and how it kind of pushed towards your next step, right? So you made a decision. What did that feel like? What did you guys go do after that?
Yeah, definitely. I think that the pain was so big because we like the idea of having the business, right? Having your own company, working your own hours, right? But with that, it comes, okay, once you're starting, it's like, okay, how do you market? What's the message? Like, who do I sell to? What's my dream client? Is there even a dream client, right? For t-shirts, like right now we just need cash. So it's all like these crazy things, but the pain of just operating the business, right? And I'm making air quotations, was really big. So the decision of leaving it was very, I think to me personally was very easy because I did not want to do that anymore. I was like, I'm done. I'm willing to try the business game on a different aspect, right? So also the desire of owning, my own thing, creating my own impact. I didn't know how or what was that going to be, right? And just the excitement of finding that, I think it was a huge driver to continue to do this, right? Just we also have very personal reasons on why we do what we do. We come from a third world country. Like it is socialism times with communism, dictatorship, everything, right? It's a very bad, nasty situation what's going back in Venezuela, and our family is still there. So to us, we were like, okay, if I need to create my own reality, right? If I need to create my own income so I can bring them as soon as I can and provide with, all the comforts that I can, because they gave us the opportunity to actually go play soccer in Europe when we were 15 and 15 years old, right? Like it was crazy. Like who does that, right? As a parent, like, yeah, go, live there for a year. So we thank them, right, for all the opportunities provided. So for us, that's a huge driver. So we're going to fail, maybe, yeah, that's fine. But we learned a very important lesson. So let's move on into the next one. So, those elements that we're looking for are so massive that the decision was so easy to kind of take.
Yeah, I mean, I think the pain was so big on that one. And, it's funny. I literally, while you were asking that question, I have a notepad right here and I wrote pain tolerance, right? Because this thought came to my mind. Because that doesn't mean, even though we enjoy what we do right now, that doesn't mean there's no pain. There is actually pain on what we're doing right now. Sometimes in your business, things come up that you might not enjoy, lots of pain, right? And I think it is important to distinguish, pain tolerance on, okay, is this pain worth, doing it, going through to see what we're going to get on the other side? And there's some pain that is like, no, we need to get out of here, run. This is a red flag, right? The t-shirt company, we saw it as a red flag. For me personally, it was a little bit more difficult. I think on the side of the relationship that we had with our other roommate, because I personally thought we were, letting him down in a certain way. And for me, that was a little bit more painful than the business. But no, honestly, it was definitely more painful than the business, because the business was not painful at all to leave it. The hot bugs was not fun at all.
No.
But when it comes to relationships with someone, obviously, you want the best for them as well. And that was very difficult. Now, what we moved into, was I 100% passionate about social media when we started? If I'm being 100% honest, no. I saw it as it was a shiny object 100% at the moment. I was like, oh, cool. Marketing agencies, they're growing fast. Let's do it. This is the chance to make a lot of money, right? And I mean, the deeper we went into this world, we started meeting people, getting to know of other companies, other businesses, and we started educating ourselves. And I think throughout the process, we found a sort of a meaning to what we're doing now, and we're enjoying it now, what we do right now. Yeah. So, I mean, again, and that's part of the pain tolerance. I didn't enjoy for a while editing videos, but I kind of knew we were on the right track. So I was like, okay, let's take it out for a little bit. And now that we finally have a team that takes care of that, I'm like, all right, that one is avoided, that pain is on that side. And now I can focus on the next thing, right? And currently what I'm enjoying is this, what we're doing right now is, and I'm sure I'm talking for my brother on this too, but what I'm enjoying is having conversations and building relationships through content, podcasts, Instagram lives, you name it.
Love it. Yeah, definitely. It's so funny. Ron and I, we had this conversation this morning that literally, like, what's our pain point, right? And some of it is like, honestly, I love messing with funnels, building funnels, but I can't do it 40 hours a week. Ron loves graphics and doing all the branding and doing all that stuff, but he can't do it 40 hours a week, right? And so talk to me about that pain in regards to, you knew, or you made a determination of when to hire somebody, right? You made a determination of when to pass that off. Like, walk the audience through, like, what was that deciding factor? When did you know you were ready? Or did you figure it out too late when the pain was already pretty high? Like, walk us through that.
Yeah, that's a cool one. In fact, we're actually going through that too, because, we're in growth mode. So we're actually before this call, we're sitting outside and we're like, what are those pain points, that we're experimenting now? How can we bundle them together and bring somebody that actually takes care of that weight, right? But before that, we told the story about the agency that we're doing a ton of stuff, right? We heard somebody say at one time, like, to get from $0 to $1 million, about the yeses that you say, and then after that is about the no's that you say. How to scale it. And we took that very literally, or at least I did. So everybody that we'll meet, they're like, oh, you guys work with marketing? Or we branded ourselves the anti-marketing agency, right? And we're like, oh my, those agencies, they don't give you the right leads. They don't give you the right customers. And then through that path, we started delivering different things, like a self-liquidating offer on a funnel. So we built the funnel, but we always figure out a way. The thing was that then we ended up with 20 different things, right? A campaign, the funnel, the thing. And it was just like, this world, as you guys know, is massive, right? So, through educating ourselves, through investing in different, people that actually worked one-on-one with us, we realized, okay, well, that might not be the path to freedom of time and making sure that, everybody's taken care of. So this happened until right before we started the show, because all our clients were brick and mortar. So we were actually on this mindset of, how do we actually tell them that we don't really want to work with them anymore? We had that conversation. We're like, man, how do we fire them? Like, and it was funny because one of these ladies who we adore, right? She owns is like a self-care studio, and she's like, I'll give you ownership, and we're planning on growing to 10 locations, and that was very attractive to us. But at the same time, we're like, we don't really want to go that route. Like we don't want to do it, right? But it was more like a freelance, Fonzie calls it. So the day that all these brick and mortars called that COVID, Jacksonville was closing the city down, they had to close. They didn't know when it was gonna open back up again. They were like, guys, like there's no paycheck coming, and we're like, what? Wait, what? Like you are like the entire income of this company. What's going on, right? And that day I literally freaked out. I was sat there. Fonzie turned around. He's like, dude, what's going on? I'm like, I don't want to talk to anybody. Like, so bad. He's like, go walk. We'll talk tomorrow. And but then he said something really powerful. He's like, dude, like this is a time to change your perspective, right? We have some time. We have some wiggle room here. And now we actually get to build what we want to build. And now's the time to start the show. So that event triggered that. We were like, okay, now that we have the process, the one thing that we're going to do, what are those pain points? What are those things that we can do it? And it took a lot to actually trust somebody with a baby and be like, you guys can do it now. But it was kind of like of a shock moment where it's like, okay, realization, in the past 4 years, we've been operating this way. This is what it got us. It was very scary because we thought that this was the end, right? Now we need to change things. So we started not just publishing, but we're like, immediately we need help. Right. And like Fonzie said, he doesn't like to edit. And we knew that we're going to produce a ton of content. That means a lot of editing. So we're like, okay, that's a pain point. Let's go find that person. And money wise, we're like, we'll figure it out. Right. It's going to come. We're going to hire them. We're going to tell them like the payment is after the 30 days. So we got to figure out a way on how we're going to come up with this money to pay them, right? It's like literally put yourself between, the wall and a sword, like right here in your chest, that you have to execute, you have to move. So for us, that was a big one. And then, so the guy came, and then we hired a second person, and then we hired a third person. And now we're in conversations to hire a fourth full-time person to keep growing, because now we're finding those pain points and we're figuring it out, right? The company grew, is amazing. So, but it took us it got us down. At least emotionally, I was like, done.
Yeah, I think one important point there, that especially at the beginning of an entrepreneurial journey, I feel a lot of people might feel this way, because I know we did for sure, is that handing your work to someone else first, you have a fear of, is it going to be well done, right? Like, I know I can do it okay, right? I know I can do it good, but like, is this person going to do it up to my expectations, right? So first, there's thousands of people that probably can do it even better than yourself, right? So don't be afraid of that. It's just a matter of finding that right person and talking to them, right? And I'm 100% sure that you can find someone that is going to do it way better than you. And then the other one is, we were approaching it with a scarcity mindset, which means, oh, I'm going to have to spend this money on this person, right, to make this. So we were seeing it as an expense, when in reality it's an investment, because you might not see the return immediately, but now a few months down the road, where we recover, we got our time back now. We're leveraging their time, and we got our time back. We can use our time to, fully work on our podcast, create relationships, talk to people. So again, it is an investment. And once you change that perspective, again, all about perspective, once you start thinking, wow, let me put this money down. Like any investment, if you go on the stock market and you put money, like, you're not going to make money immediately, right? It's going to take some time. So same with employees or within your business. So again, I recommend people that if they're scared of hiring someone, taking that one step, just switch your perspective to ROI, right? That investment mentality, and it's probably going to play out for you.
No, I love that. There's couple things I definitely want to touch on. One, I love the analogy of, okay, here's where I'm at. Here's the sword. We've got to get it, because that's where we're going. And I love that you bet on yourself to do that, right? But we get in this journey for the time back. And what we do, I mean, Corey and I just had this conversation. The last thing we want to do, even though we enjoy doing it, is just build ourselves a really large job. Like that's not the point of what we're trying to do. And I'm sure our wives would agree to that, and so that's the pieces where you've got to keep, going down that path and bringing on the right people that you can work with. Right? Because there's a personality and a time expectation. For me, I just want it done at a certain time. I've kind of let go what it looks like, right? Because how I would do it is different than other people, right? Yeah. But if you can understand you're leveraging their time to help you get to the end game that you're trying to get to and have that mindset, it takes care of itself.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think one of the fears for me personally was because I dealt with that on my previous, like in the fitness industry, right? I managed a team of 14 people. Like I was constantly hiring every single time, and the barrier of entry for that job was very low, right? So we were always in need for people. So we were onboarding these people. I was not in fully control of the process, which was probably part of it. But so we will get these guys, and then the training was so exhausting to then they will turn around in 2 months and then we have to get somebody new. So, that messed me up. That was like, oh my God, is this the entire, is this how hiring people feel like? And again, like I never had a different experience. That's what I lived, and it was a pain, right? But then, again, going back to investing in yourself, right? So we had some people that really helped us one-on-one. We were like, okay, what's the next step, right? And we were like, you know what? Let's make this onboarding as in prospects for the job very hard, because if they follow every single step and they do a decent job, that might be a good fit, right? And it was immediate. And the people that came onto the team, amazing, zero problem. Like it was great. So that changed my perspective internally. And he's like, dude, why didn't we do this earlier? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Like, no. So, now we're identifying those. We do execute up to a point to where we have a solid system that then we can hand out, and then they can elevate it, right? So we take it from 0 to 6, and then they take it at 6, and then they elevate it, right? And now part of the process is, okay, take this, right? How are you going to elevate it? What are you adding to the team? So is that sales mentality too? We talk on the show a lot about the frictionless sale. It's like, okay, how do I get people to come to me for my service, for my value that I'm provided? So we implemented that in the job, right? Like there's different things. Like, of course, we're competing with other companies. Of course, we're competing for something else, but we have to sell that job. And by positioning ourselves as we're not accepting everybody, right? We're playing the long game here. This is the vision. This is what we want to do. This is what we stand for, right? We connected at a deeper level with these people that we work with now, and it is incredible. You're building a relationship inside of it that then is really hard to break. Right.
Yeah. And going off of, what you said there, Ron, about building yourself a very large job. Right. That resonates with me, especially because that was one of the reasons I came into building my own stuff. Is I wanted to have the freedom to go wherever I wanted and do whatever I wanted whenever I wanted. Right. And I'm actually reading a book right now that is called The One Person, $1 Million Business. And that is something that is unheard of in the history of the world. That is like businesses that now are literally a one-person business that make over $1 million in revenue. That is absolutely amazing. And that is because there are so many resources out there that people can benefit from, right? Like example, software that facilitates it and can allow you to pretty much plug in pieces to your business and it exponentially increases your output, right? Or the value of your business. So what I'm trying to say here is for people, you don't have to do it all yourself and you don't have to build yourself a very large job. There are, ways. There's contractors that will do a great job because that's their business and their business is on the line whether they do a good job or not. So it's totally awesome, because you're like, hey, it's a win-win situation. You're giving them business. They're giving you an output that you need and probably a quality output, hopefully a quality output,
Right.
and you still have that freedom of time for yourself. Yeah. So it was a big, I think it was a big stepping stone for us managing, trying to find somebody to plug into our team. But if done properly, it's definitely pay off.
Yeah, 100% agree. And that is where Ron and I are at. Like, we have 2 people that currently work with us, but not full time. And we're at the point of looking for others. So definitely
Awesome.
It's awesome. The hard part though, of trying to know, like, when do I give up? When do we, right? So, okay. So one question that I get to ask everyone, and it's definitely around our show, hindsight. So everyone knows hindsight's 2020. So if either of you guys could go back in time, give yourself a little bit of advice with the knowledge that you have now, what kind of advice would you give, and when would you go back?
If you want to go first.
Oh man, so much advice.
I say you go first so I can think about it.
Yeah. There's so much. Just in the last year alone, I'm like, well, there's maybe a couple. One, start investing in myself earlier. We were those kids that we would like look at $100, investment and be like, oh, that's so much. Like, and then my head will go to like all the bad things. Right. And about, it's going to be like a year and a half now, almost a year and a half. We invested, $100 in this event, massive event that kind of started to create these opportunities for us. Right. And I remember very clearly, like, we were driving back from Miami to Jacksonville, where we live, is like a 5-hour drive. And we saw the billboard of these events, like, 2 tickets, $100 or 150, I think it was. And we're like, oh man, that would be so cool. Just go, like, we'll just drive back. And then immediately the mind was like, oh man, where are we going to stay? We have family on there, but we don't really want to hang out with the family that's on there. How much is the food, the hotel? But like, it's just all the excuses, right? Mm-hmm. And then we're like, let's actually do it. Whatever, we'll figure it out. Again, put an event in front of you so it can pull you forward. So we did that, and then on that event, that was my first time actually seeing Russell Branson, like, consuming his content. For me, that meant a lot. He knew it. He was trying to convince me to join the cult. But anyway,
I did the same thing for Ron, so don't you worry. I had to convince him.
So I'm like, oh man, I get you now. And the message that he was saying on that event was, the what we talked earlier was like, the marketing is separate from the sales side, and we need to like unite those. And that was the thing that I was living with the studios I was running. And then we heard Ryan Dice and Jesse Itzler. And, the first ever program that we invested in was a Jesse Itzler's program. It was like a $300 investment. For me.
The second.
The second, exactly. Because the event was.
Gotta fact check him here, guys.
Thank
sorry.
you, bro. Thank you.
I thought Ty Lopez was, so.
Yeah.
There we go.
Exactly. But Ty Lopez was like 3 years before that. So like so long ago. And it was like, okay, well, that event, we started implementing things, executing, right, on the teachings or whatever, the content that they were delivering. We met people through that, which later on, that was the first 45 Live guy that saw the video and then contacted me because we were on the same community, and then ended up being the contract that like took off like with the company, right? It was like $80,000 a year contract for us that we never ever saw that amount of money in our lives ever. So that cascaded a bunch of stuff. We implemented with our clients. We got successes with our clients. We're like, wow, cool, this thing works, right? And then, we went to another conference in Boise. I'm sure you guys were there too. And that was the biggest investment that we've ever like did. And that was very scary. I was shaking. I did not have the money to do that. And we're like, but when we went back to those events and we're like, well, we invested, we executed, which executed is a key word here because you can invest and not execute and nothing happens, right? If I put this money down, which we don't have, it's going to be very scary. We're going to put ourselves between the wall and the sword. We're going to have to execute because then my wife is going to be gone, right? Which she never found out the amount of money of that investment until like 2 days ago, like almost. So
we said on a live podcast, huh?
Yeah. when it slipped, right?
Yeah, you guys cannot see it, but behind the computer there's a mattress because he's living now in the office.
No, my wife uses things against me on that she hears from our show. I go, you aren't allowed to. Like, that isn't okay.
Yeah. So, but anyway, so that created the relationships that we now have. That created like somewhat of the market that we now serve. it got us like the skills and made us understand like that to level up, right? So that was massive. So I say it's investing like in myself like way before, because I was a free people, right? Like Myron says.
Yeah.
And then published 100%.
That's funny that he mentions that, because actually yesterday I was reading this article. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Powder Mountain. I don't know if you guys know what that is. No. So is this group
It's
of
not
like
cocaine? No.
Yeah. No.
It's not cocaine.
It did sound like that now that I think about it.
I was like, where's this
A
going?
little something there, Fonz. I don't know.
It's kind of like this like community that they're building actually in Utah, and it's like this bunch of young entrepreneurs, and they bought a mountain, right? They bought it, and now they're like developing this this community, super nice community for the elite, probably. And I was reading the article, and the guy that started everything, he was saying the only thing that is separating people from the elite is investing in themselves. And I was like, save that quote right there, because that was actually what happened. What my brother's telling right now, like the moment we invested in ourselves, when we started gaining momentum, because we got access to people, right? Most importantly, even I would say even more important than knowledge is access to these people, right? And then we got access to knowledge, new things, and it opens so many doors for us. And so again, I want to invite everybody on the other side to invest in yourself. So if I would have to go back and give some advice to my younger self, definitely would be again investing in myself. But I would go back to July 17th. No, I'm kidding. But I would go back a few years, probably like 3 years back. And I remember I was sitting in front of my computer watching I think it was a webinar from Lewis House. And he was talking about publishing, creating content, being top of mind. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to create some content, right? And what happened was that I was always putting excuses in front of me not to put content. I knew I had to do it, but I was putting myself excuses. I don't have the mic. I don't have the camera. I don't have the nice things, right? So I would tell myself, well, first I would like slap myself, just like backhand slap. Whoosh.
Like that Batman gift.
Yeah. And then I will tell myself, do it. It doesn't have to be perfect. Like take imperfect action, like Steve Larson says, just take action and you're going to learn from that, right? Like I look back right now, I'm like, wow, imagine if we would have started publishing 3 years ago, like where would we be? So just having that thought, again, don't dwell in the past, live in the present. But that gives it a little bit of perspective on, wow, like all this time happened and we could have done so much with it. So now we are taking action. But that probably is the recommendation I would give to myself, is just take action and maybe don't jump from shiny object to shiny object.
It's like you guys.
Is it like a bonus? You got like
What?
Sorry, go ahead.
I said it's like you live in my house. Like there's so many things that you're like, oh yeah, I did that. Yeah.
I think we were both at some of the same things over the last year. It's just kind of funny.
Right. Well, and
Ooh, the shiny object. Ooh, there's that.
The shiny object thing. Like Corey and I had a conversation. We're like, okay, pick 2 people. Let's focus on those 2 people. And everyone else doesn't exist, right? Because it's just easier that way. And then, so when we did that, that helped us get clarity. And then we started investing in ourselves, and then we just started publishing. And that's when everything changed. I mean, it really did. And it sounds silly, but if you're not publishing or getting content out there, you're not growing. And the done beats perfect. That's like something that's hard for me. Like if I didn't just do that, we probably still wouldn't have a podcast right now, because I was like, yeah, I don't like the artwork. I don't like this. I don't like that. But we just did it and said, okay, check it off. We're moving forward. And we went back and changed a couple of pieces. But we moved on and we grew and we invited people along for the ride. Right. So love that. Love that. What are you guys working on now? Like tell everybody, we heard about the t-shirts. We heard about this. We heard about that. What are you guys working on now?
Content. So, we went back to that piece that kept calling us from like 5 years ago. It's like, okay, we started here full circle, right? We we made the shirts for a little bit. The message was not resonating, but it's like, it says, let us tell your story. So for those that have that long form content, the podcast with video, then our team goes in and basically creates these amazing pieces of content and then you guys can distribute depending on your strategy. So we serve that one purpose. We plug in into the team. So they need to have a distribution strategy. We kind of work with them on the onboarding side of things when we come on with them to see where things go so we can actually execute properly. But they have to have that piece in place, right? It's a little bit of a challenge if there's none of those pieces because we always go back to your minimum viable content, right? We talked about this in the show a couple of times. You got to stay consistent. Consistency is the one key. I remember interviewing, I think, Jay, agency owner. He's been on growth mode for 20 years. He has a massive marketing agency, millions of dollars in sales. And he told us like the one thing that you need to focus on is consistency. Whatever the cadence is for your content, however you distribute it, whatever you decide to do, be consistent over time. And that's it. So for us personally, right, on the show, we were okay, how can we achieve consistency in a shorter period of time so we can practice a ton. So that's why we publish 3 times a week, the show live, and then we have the audio. So for us, always when we try to publish, it's can we stay consistent? So many ideas come to our head, like we could do this piece and that piece and edit this way and do that. But then we go back, like, can we actually scale this consistently? If the answer is no, then we scratch it, right? And then we continue to do that. But how did that start? That started with 45 days straight of Facebook Lives because we didn't have the technology at the time to start the podcast. We didn't know anything about, starting the podcast or whatnot, but it was
actually, wait.
We actually did it.
Fact check him again, guys. Fact check. This guy, we're going to have to have a class after this secret meeting.
I'm talking about the software.
Yeah. So actually we had the equipment, the one that we have right now for the podcast, but because of the fact that we put so much friction on ourselves about a year ago when we were trying to start the podcast, we put it back in the closet. We're like, nope, we're not gonna do it. We recorded 5 episodes. We never released one.
Mr. Perfectionist here wanted 2 cameras, but they have a time limit of 20 minutes. So we had to like stand up and like hit re-record and then come back and then the light and it was a whole mess. So those are raw videos. They're there. We'll probably sell it at some point for people that want to see that funny stuff. But but again, like we go back to removing the friction and it was a conversation that we had with one of the clients, right? They saw the client's work. They met with us and like, you guys have nothing. Like, well, how can I believe you? You're selling on content. You guys have nothing. And we're like, oh man, the report level went from here to down here. And we sat down and we're like, dude, we gotta do something, right? And at the time we didn't have the team. So we're like, what can we do to stay consistent every single day? And the answer for us was Facebook Live. For some people might be writing an article, writing a post, something. For us was being on video because, my English is not very good looking. So when I try to write it, it's horrible. Fonz is really good at it. But I was like, okay, we just do the video. And as soon as I end it, it's published. That's it. I don't have to do anything else. And that gave us incredible results. As in like day 15, people were reaching out. They're like, how can I work with you guys? And then they were asking, what do you guys do? Which was the frictionless sale, right? It's like, I don't know what you guys do, but I wanna be a part of it, which was awesome. And then that continued. We did a season 2, and now that with the show, we do that, and then we experiment a lot of things with the content, and then with our clients, we actually execute the repurposing of it.
So I would, I recommend video just because it has so many upsides, honestly. Besides writing, I mean, writing is cool and it can be amazing. I am trying to get into it, but video, like you work on your fear first of all, which is huge. Like the first lives that we did, we were, shaky, sweaty armpits. It's like, oh, what am I gonna say, right? But you get to embrace your mistakes because there's no going back. Right. I mean, you can cancel the live and then start it again.
But you're not upload it, but it's there.
Exactly. But you're putting yourself out there, which is really cool. And it teaches you a lot of lessons of just like putting your thoughts into words. So besides that, on more of a technical aspect, then you can retarget people that watch your videos. So I think it has too many upsides not to do it. So definitely recommend people to hop on the 45 live bandwagon.
Well, we are challenged to do 30. So we'll up it another 15. We'll see. All right.
Let's go.
It's funny that you mentioned that. We actually have a guy that decided to jump on. Like we don't sell this. Like there's no program. There's no 45 live. Eventually, probably we'll see. But the guy's like, I'll do the 45 live. So he finishes day 45 and he's like, I'll do 200 days. So he was like addicted. Right? He's like, I'll keep going. So I think he's like day 120 or something. So and he's been doing great. And we have this other, like, she's a book author, beautiful, like amazing person, and she was so scared to be there, and it was incredible. Like within a week, she had people reaching out. Can you coach me? We work on this? Like, what do you have that I need it? And then
you will be surprised of who's listening. You never know, right? Again, she's a business author. She had an audience, but she was not putting herself out there, right? So people didn't know exactly what she was offering, or if she even wanted to connect with people, right?
Yeah.
So she started doing these live videos, and we meet on like a weekly basis. We just hop for like 15 minutes and catch up. And she's like, I can't believe it. It's like, it's been 1 week, and I have text messages, people calling me, telling me that if I can help them and their husbands, like as a couple. And I was like, this is amazing.
Perfect.
So yeah, now she's like sharing it with her family. She's trying to get her family to do like 45 live too and everything. So yeah, it's great. It has a lot of upsides.
Yeah, it's so awesome. All right, one last super quick question. I know we're running out of time here. So you guys did a little work for Think Different Theory, and Josh Forty has a little special place in our hearts. And so I just wanted to hear about like what's the work you guys did with him.
Yeah, well, we still do. So all the content that you guys see coming out of his machine, we are the producers behind that. So that's what we do for his show. He goes out and he does his thing. He talks to all these wonderful people. He expresses his very polarizing thoughts, which we love. And then we receive that video, and then we execute and we create all that content that then you guys see out to do that. So
yeah, it's funny because part of the inspiration to do this show 3 times a week came from Josh.
Right.
Yeah.
We were seeing him and we're like, dude, like, just look at this guy. Like, he stands up for what he believes in, right? And he's not afraid of sharing his message. He has a huge audience behind him, and it looks like he's having fun while doing all this. And he's doing it live 3 times a week. I'm like, let's do it. Let's just do it the exact same way. Yeah. So we actually, before starting working with him, we saw this post. Actually, I'm going to back up a little bit more. At an event that we went in January, was it?
Yeah.
January. We were sitting at this round table. We were talking a bunch of people. And Josh comes in and he sits down, right? And at this point, we didn't know him.
Yeah.
And what surprised me was that he sat at the table and he's like, hey, guys, what's up? I'm Josh. How you guys doing? It was not doing like a live podcast in there, but he goes like, you know what? I want to know each one of you and how can I help each one of you? And he went one by one, listening to everybody's problems and saying, trying to genuinely help them, right? Yeah. And for me, I was like, dude, like, how cool is this guy? Yeah. Like, so selfish, just came in here, share his time with us, and actually try to help everybody. So when we came back here to Florida, one day we're online and we see a post of him saying, hey, I'm looking for a content team, someone that can help me, edit my podcast and all that stuff. And we were like, this is it. This is a chance, dude. Let's get him on a call.
Actually, I'm going to fact check you right there, bro.
Oh, okay. Fact check.
I got it. Yes. First time in 4 months I get to do that. So
it's on video. See,
No.
I got it. So
edit this part out, guys.
The pose was one of those poses. It's a video with like a progress bar, right? And at the time we were experimenting with different tools. And he's like, hey, who can do this for me? So my comment to him was like, hey, there's this wonderful tool that allows you to do it. And then he responded back, well, I actually don't want to do it myself. And I was like, whoa, that's very smart. And I'm like, hey, by the way, our team does that. Like, we do that. So can we hop on a call? So that's a fact check. Now you got that story. Okay.
You can continue with the story. It's okay.
And at the end of the day, we jumped on a phone call with him, and we showed him a lot of some of the work that we did. And he's like, "Dude, I'm interested. What can we do?" So it was funny because he was actually doing the podcast with Marley Jacks, and it was between the time that we were expecting an answer from him, and we haven't heard from him. And I'm like, "Dang, like what happened?" We send them all. By the way, we repurposed like this episode with Catherine Jones. We sent that content out to him, and it was about 120 pieces, different pieces of content that we produced for him in a week from that one episode. We went a little overboard because I don't think any social media manager want to post that much. But we were like, we're gonna show you what the capacity. Exactly. So we just want to show you what we can do, right? So we did that, and then during the episode, he's like sharing with Marley that he actually hired a team, right? And we're like, how? Fonzie, did you get a call? Like, what happened? And it was these other people that we know. We don't even consider competition. There's like they got nothing on us, but it was that because of the description, right? And I'm like, there's no way. And so we reached back out. We're like, hey, Josh, what's stopping you? And we found out what was stopping him. I mean, like, hey, if we solve that one thing, do you want to hire us? And he's like, absolutely. And I'm like, done. But the cool thing is like, going after those guys that you really want to work with, and their relationship has been amazing since, and he's opened a ton of doors as well. So it's been definitely a win-win-win for everybody. And I'm sure you guys know that because that's a special place in your heart.
Yeah, Josh is good people.
Yeah, he's awesome.
All right, guys. Well, we want to thank you for taking the time and getting to know our audience, and our audience getting to know you. Where can I'm sure I know people out there are like, I need content. I need to get with these guys. Where can they find you?
Absolutely. The best place is the show, Content is Profit. Every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we actually go live in our Facebook page at Bizbros Go. So if you guys hop in there, leave us a comment or even a message on Facebook. We're happy to respond.
Yeah. And, we're pretty active on Instagram too. So slide on the DMs. No shame in there.
Yeah. Happy to answer it. You can ask us your number one question about content. We're happy to respond and maybe a call to kind of find out a little bit more what you guys do and see if we can help you.
Awesome. All right, guys.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure getting to know both of you, and I look forward to the next time for sure.
Thank you. That was so much fun.
Thank you. Yeah, it was awesome.
Woo! Man, I need to sit down. I was like I just was running, trying to keep up with those guys.
I know. It's crazy.
All right, everyone. So definitely those guys are a testimony to you set your mind to it, you figure out what you want to do, and then you just start executing.
Yep. Guys, there's a ton of takeaways from this. I can talk about make sure you find your who's sooner. I could talk about a bunch of different things, but the one that I kind of want to talk about was they talked about an event and putting an event in front of you and go towards that because you'll probably hit it. And it's like, put that goal out there, drive a stake in the ground, understand that's where you're going, and then go there. And then have everything conspire to make that happen. So that's number one. And the other part, invest in yourself. You invest in all these other things, but you know what? Invest in your growth in the right areas and you will see the difference.
Yeah, people invest in TVs, they invest in clothes, but at the end of the day, that's not a true investment. So invest in yourself to learn more, to be better, to be stronger, to be a better leader, whatever it might be. And and the whole piece of everything that they're doing is so true, and it resonates so much with you and I that, we have gone through this exact thing, I feel like simultaneously with these guys.
Yeah,
so it was so eerie, like, oh man, I just did that. Oh, you just did that. Oh, So, all right, everyone, definitely hit us up in our Facebook group and facebook.com/groups/hindsight hacking. And you'll find everything that we're doing there and more. And we can't wait to get to know you there.
And guys, thanks for being the best part of the Hindsight Hackers community.